You're listening to Kizuki, the podcast. I'm Mae Yoshikawa, and I define the Japanese concept of Kizuki as the following. Kizuki. 1. A moment of epiphany, an aha of realization or insight which opens the knower to a new dimension of truth that was formerly unknown. 2. Steps in an incremental growth of awareness, resulting in a movement from ignorance to greater awareness of the bigger picture. A kind of knowing that cannot be undone, that cannot be unrealized. As a longtime yoga and meditation practitioner, a world traveler, and curious self-explorer, I'm obsessed with Kizukis. Listen on each week for inspiring and enlightening stories that may just tip you over for your next aha. On this week's episode, authority issues. Today, I want to talk about something that's a little hard to talk about. And it's the fact that I used to have authority issues. And it's really shifted for me in the past year. And I think I'm finally ready to talk about it. I realized that my somewhat complicated relationship with authority, beyond what it was, may have had legs. Let me explain that. You see, it's not like I walk around arguing with police officers or refusing to follow rules. I don't have any of that. But as I look back over my life, I realized something startling. It wasn't just my experience with authority, it was what I let it mean to me. And it was that I interpreted authority as not always being trustworthy. And so there was a trigger around it. I reacted to it. And of course, that's a belief. It's not a fact. And upon that realization, I went digging. Let's look into this belief. Let's excavate it and let's learn from it. And that's what I want to get into in this episode. But to illustrate where this belief that authority can't be trusted came, for me, I want to bring you into a story from my life. A little bit of a trigger warning, because when I was a teenager, there was a period when I had this long commute on the train to go to school. And it's not uncommon for young girls taking crowded trains in Tokyo that at some point or other we've experienced incidents of sexual harassment, being molested by strangers. And it's way too common, where I know that it's happened to so many of my friends. But what really hurt, what was really scary, wasn't only what happened, it was what happened when girls like me tried to report it to the police. On one occasion, there was a man who would find me on the same train, in the same car, and corner me. And because it was a repeated thing, I felt the urgency to take action. And I went to a local police box. And the police officer told me, there's nothing we can do about it. We have to catch them red-handed. If there's no evidence, there's nothing we can do about it. But of course, it's not like the police are going to be roaming these rush hour trains, you know? And I just felt so dismissed that I wasn't taken seriously. It was almost as though the inconvenience of dealing with the situation mattered more to them than what had happened to me. Several years later, when we were in university. I had a friend who had an incident on a late night train where a man approached her on a very, very crowded train and cornered her. And, well, let's just say there was evidence on her leg. She was so shook that she exited the train at the next stop, even though she knew that she might then miss the last train and have to find a different way home that night. She walked out of the station to the local police box, crying, and told the police officer what happened with the evidence on her leg. And he told her, maybe you should wear a longer skirt. I know, it's really disturbing. And because these incidents weren't singular, I think I had just absorbed this meaning from those experiences without consciously realizing it back then. And it was that the people who are supposed to protect you might not protect you. They might not want to, they might not care, they might not even think it's their problem. And although those years of train incidents passed as I grew up and got stronger, and it's funny, these types of people, they're predators, and they're looking out for weaker, more vulnerable prey. And so when you grow up and when you're more confident in standing with your spine straight, they don't find you. And so it stopped. It never happened again. And one might think that then my issues with authority could then fade. But as I look back, I don't think they did. I think it was just gently humming in the background. Many years later, in my 30s, when my husband died in a traffic accident, let's just say I had a similar experience with the way that the authorities treated his death, where it was so painful how disrespectful it was. And it just gave me very little room to honor what had happened in a way that we deserved. And it actually made it more challenging for me to deal with the aftermath in terms of protecting myself and my family and my children with all of this information. Once again, in one of the most vulnerable moments of my life, I didn't feel protected. I didn't even feel seen. In fact, I felt completely ignored. And this is how beliefs form. I mention these things not as some blame game or evidence of things that go wrong, but I want to talk about it because it shows us something, it teaches us something. Because we think that it's showing us something about reality, but actually reality is so much more. It's showing aspects and pieces of reality from which we then draw conclusions that form into beliefs that become the lens through which we see the world. Hence my years of having some form of authority issues. It's like life gives you enough experiences and your mind connects them like dots and make meaning out of them, but it's not always working for you. Of course, the initial impetus is for self-protection. Like in my case, you learn enough times that authority won't protect you, then, what do you begin to believe about authority itself? I'm not going to keep wishfully hoping for someone to do something for me. I'm going to have to do something myself. And I've known that about myself. I just didn't know what else it meant to me. And this is where things got really interesting, like in the last year or so. Because I realized that when authority feels unsafe or untrustworthy, for years I just thought that that's what it was. That's the way it is, and I deal with it. But no, there's actually more to the story, because I'm not just judging them, I'm judging authority itself, which means that I can begin to resist my own authority. It opened an entirely unexpected door into understanding leadership, responsibility, and even success for me. Because as long as I am judging authority as untrustworthy, it also means that I would fear becoming more powerful myself. Because what would happen then if I step into an authority role? Like, how would I reconcile that? Or not? Which led me to another question. Like, what if the reason some of us struggle with leadership isn't because we're afraid of failure? It's more like we're afraid of becoming the thing that hurt us. There are these quiet questions like, what if success changes me? What if money makes me entitled? What if me assuming a leadership role makes me one of them, makes me this disconnected person? What if influence makes me arrogant? And then I realized maybe the fear wasn't corruption itself. It was like this hum of a fear of becoming my version of such an authority figure. That I would most fear becoming the thing that I had judged. But then, of course, I had to look more closely at the word authority itself, because authority isn't the problem. It's the abuse of authority that's the problem. Leadership isn't the problem. It's the disconnect that does us disservice. Even power isn't the problem. I know there's a lot of talk about corrupt power, but power itself isn't the problem. Forgetting your humanity and integrity in the power, that's the problem. And from that understanding, if you look upon the world, it's actually not too hard to find people who have done a brilliant job of displaying power, leadership, and authority with integrity. I think immediately of Jacinda Ardern, former Prime Minister of New Zealand, and a woman I tremendously respect. I think of people like Oprah Winfrey, who built her empire from nothing, withstanding enormous amounts of criticism and hate, and even false tabloid stories along the way. There are people who have grown into their power, influence, and authority and maintained their integrity. They have become these things without becoming harder. People who have tremendous authority without sacrificing their humanity. It was really important for me to focus on this distinction, because otherwise I would end up keeping my world small and my success and my leadership at bay. It's also something that years of meditation and journaling have taught me repeatedly. Whenever you catch yourself judging something or someone, there's often an underlying belief that's ripe to be uncovered. And the key is to point that arrow right back at yourself. In what ways do I judge myself for those same traits? or perhaps fear those same traits could possibly take root in me? In what ways are my judgments withholding me from becoming a fuller version of myself? For years, on some level, I think I thought that avoiding authority was my way of making sure I never become the thing that I distrusted, that disgusted me. And at last, I'm beginning to see that there are other options. I'm talking about authority not as power over or domination, not becoming less human, but authority as authorship. Taking responsibility, full responsibility for what is mine to lead, and not being afraid to step into that role, creating containers where people, life, and possibility can flourish. And so I'm beginning to understand that the answer for me isn't necessarily to stay away from authority and power because of fear of it being misused. Maybe it's to truly step into becoming a different example of it, to hold power without losing tenderness, to lead without losing connection, and to be able to step into and own influence without becoming less human. It feels like kind of coming into a knowing that stepping into authority doesn't have to mean that I will become one of them, that I get to decide what kind of authority I want to become. Thank you for listening. I have 2 exciting announcements to share with you. First, registration for the next Kizuki journaling session, online and in English, is now open at maey.live under Sessions. It's happening on September 21st in North America and September 22nd in Japan, Australia, and this side of the world. Kizuki journaling is a simple method that uses just 3 journal prompts, interwoven with guided meditation to help you uncover the hidden beliefs shaping your life and open the door to a Kizuki moment, a realization that can shift the way you see yourself and your life. I'd love for you to join me. And second, I recently started new Instagram and TikTok channels dedicated entirely to Kizuki. You can check it out at Collecting Kizuki. Come find me there and DM me if you have any questions or if you'd like to share your own Kizuki moments with me. Until next time, may your next Kizuki gently find you.